This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses.
I think it's about 4.5 years since I got an HX Stomp. So the story goes something like, for some reason, someone at Line 6 noticed that I'd uploaded a video reamping some playing through Helix Native, and they asked me if I would want to demo, I think firstly, a wireless kind of system. And so I said, yeah, I can do. And I thought, how am I going to do that? And I think I ended up just standing outside the house and playing and recording something from outside the house. And then I said, by the way, this HX Stomp thing looks interesting. And at the time, I was a Kemper user, and I'd seen the Line 6 Helix. Before I got a Kemper, I was kind of a Pod HD500X user, and before that, a Pod XT Live. I used to use those in 4-cable method and also record direct with them. But the Helix, for me, at the time, was a little bit on the expensive side. I think I bought my Kemper second-hand for about £900-ish, just a couple of years, maybe even as the Helix came out. So I wasn't ready to drop that coin on it yet. And then, yeah, the HX Stomp came along. And for me, it was a thing like, well, this is £400, roughly, the sort of thing that, you know, you could easily get for the price of 2 other pedals, if not less than 2. You know, if you think about things like the Duelist, or a pedal like a Klon KTR, or these sorts of, you know, Chase Bliss pedals, for example, a Chase Bliss Mood or Chase Bliss Habit. There's loads of pedals, just singular pedals by themselves, that cost as much as an HX Stomp. Now, the intro I recorded last night, I just had sort of 10 minutes to spare, and I was like, right, I want to just try and jump in and record something. The HX Stomp is generally what I go to and grab anytime I'm trying to do just like a bit of playing, if that makes sense, or I'm downstairs using the Boss Wazza Airs. I don't use the Helix, the full Helix, all that often. This is like the perfect size, has 8 blocks in it, which is maybe not enough for some people. For live use, I prefer the XL, because that means that I can kind of switch through all the bits that I need and have some kind of pedals spare as well. But for me, it just does pretty much everything that I need it to do, and it's been generously updated to the state where I think this is pretty much unrecognizable from where it was when it first launched, with just 6 blocks and way less in terms of models and all that sort of stuff, and also less capability. The command center has come on leaps and bounds. The new cab update kind of realized new DSP capabilities, you know, so it's now super possible, like in that preset there that you saw me using in the intro, that was a condensed version of a Helix preset which has the litigator as well as a Lone Star kind of doing like a dry thing. So it's got 2 amps in it, as well as a drive, as well as a compressor and a reverb and 2 cabs. And so you can basically do these really cool things with it. It looks like they're going to continue to update it. There wasn't anything announced at NAMM. I don't know anything that you don't in that regard. So I think the HX Stomp for me is going to be something I keep on using for years to come, until maybe at some point Line 6 come up with a updated version of the HX Stomp, something which, you know, builds on what they've already created here. But for me, I think there are other great units like the Hotone Ampero Stomp, the Fractal FM3 I really love, and I think the Fractal FM3 I would necessarily say I think is more capable than the HX Stomp, but it's also about twice the price, and for that reason maybe a little bit less attainable. But there are way more models in there. There's, you know, loads of stuff that's cool about the FM3. I've done tons of videos on the FM3 as well, but I think the accessibility of the HX Stomp, you know, the fact that you can buy it anywhere in the world, and basically they're almost always available and they're not super expensive, means that for me the HX Stomp is sort of the thing that I gravitate towards the most. And you can do some really creative, interesting things with them, as I try to do regularly. But I've got the Helix over there, I've got Quad Cortex, I've got all these other bits and pieces. I still gravitate towards the HX Stomp most of all. For some reason, there's just something about it being smaller, and maybe the fact that it does have some of these limitations. You know, it's half the processing power of a Helix, that mean that I have to be a little bit more pared down in my approach, and I think that kind of suits me quite well, because I'm someone who maybe likes delay and reverb too much. But the pared down approach to the HX Stomp, I really appreciate it. Pair this with a volume pedal and you get some really flexible things. I have gigged these before. As I say, I now gig the HX Stomp XL. But yeah, love the tones, love the form factor, love to see where they're going to go with it in the future. I think the new reverbs, the new cabs, all of these things have been a real step above what came before even. And I think I put their reverbs up with anything on the market. And I sold my Chase Bliss CXM 1978 because I thought, frankly, this sounds more like what I want it to. And equally, the Strymon Cloudburst I got rid of for the same reason. So for me, this does so many things really well that it's just invaluable. And if I've got an amp like the Carolan Tucano, which doesn't have a reverb, this equally I could use in full cable method and get some good results out of that as well, I reckon. So for me, 17 thumbs up for the HX Stomp. I really love it still, and it still seems to be getting updates pretty regularly, and I don't see this going anywhere. I'm not sure what would kick this off of my virtual board, but it doesn't seem that it's going to be going anywhere for a while. Thanks for stopping by. Gumroad will be the place to grab that preset. It was called DumbGoodToneHX, kind of that preset made to work with the HX Stomp. Check it out if you fancy. Cheers.